For more, we can cross to Sofia, Bulgaria, and speak to Mark Voyger with the Transatlantic Defense and Security Program at the Center for European Analysis. Thank you for speaking to France 24. Just want to begin. It is day 3 of the invasion. There was some thought that there might be a blitzkrieg. Are you worried that Vladimir Putin, impatient to inflict a rapid victory, could resort to even more drastic measures?
Yes, absolutely. Vladimir Putin, the dictator of Kremlin, was hoping that he could achieve a very quick victory and in a sweeping act, encircle the capital Kiev, take down the Ukrainian government, and of course conquer most of the territory of Ukraine. This has not happened. The Ukrainian army is fighting bravely, and as you can see, the Russian forces are being beaten down and pushed back. Therefore, there is serious concern that Putin can resort to a terror act, which he can blame on the Ukrainians, something along a mass humanitarian catastrophe. We should not forget, we should keep our eyes on the fact that Russia now is in control of Chernobyl. There's always the possibility, unfortunately, of all sorts of acts there if that reactor is being compromised. I mean, that threatens not only the security and health, of course, of the Ukrainian population, but of the entire European continent.
Yeah, and it's not just the Ukrainian army fighting, it's also volunteers turning out en masse, really. So it appears that Russia has sustained some, relatively heavy losses, but nonetheless, Ukraine is outmanned, it's outgunned. How long can it hold out for?
Let me put those losses in a historical and statistical perspective. Over the course of the last 2 or 3 days, according to the data available, Russia has lost about 3,500 soldiers. Even if this estimate is a bit exaggerated, still, don't forget the Soviet Union lost 15,000 in Afghanistan over the course of 10 years. So in 2 or 3 days, they've lost as much as they were losing per year in Afghanistan. I think the Ukrainian army can hold their ground as long as they receive support from the West, weapons, especially, and all the necessary material. And they desperately need the NATO to impose a no-fly zone over the country. I know it's easier said than done, but at least that's the least we can do for them while they're defending not only their democracy, but the future of democracy and freedom in Europe.
Yeah, Ukrainian president said that France is sending weapons and that it celebrated this sort of partnership. Tell us, has NATO, has the West, has it been dragging its feet here to not do more for Ukraine?
I wouldn't call it dragging their feet. The problem is that NATO is, as you know, an alliance where consensus is needed for any sort of action outside of the borders of NATO. I mean, 30 countries are involved here. And so those countries have to be on board to approve any military action outside of NATO territory. But can they do more? Absolutely. Could we have done more? Absolutely. So now is the time to act. Now is the time to support Ukraine, not only politically but militarily, especially through weapons shipments, especially through blocking the Russian access to SWIFT and other banking systems. Now or never, I would say. This is the one of the most desperate moment, effectively, in European history over the last 77 years. But Putin's blitzkrieg has been stopped and can be reversed to defend the European democracy chance for development in Eastern Europe.
But there was an alternative, even if NATO wasn't going to send troops. I mean, they could have played this differently. The U.S. and its allies repeatedly said they would not send troops, regardless of if that was a right decision or not. They have been signaling it and telegraphing it so long. Was that a miscalculation of the U.S. to not leave at least some doubt in Russia's mind?
Yeah, unfortunately, the U.S. could have played this information for better. We could have said that. We could have said it differently. You're absolutely right. Vladimir Putin, we could have left him guessing at least until the last moment. And when he's left guessing, then he would not be so confident. Now he knows at least in advance he knew some of the action would not take. Now we need to keep him guessing. Now is the time for us to stop issuing such messages and issue messages of resolve and support. As I said, not only of Ukraine, but ultimately of the future of European security architecture and, in a moral sense of the democratic values across the Western world.
Yeah, on that last note, I mean, some of us in the West were caught off guard by this invasion. Everyone's wondering what Vladimir Putin's next move is. What should the West be doing in preparation for that?
I have no doubt if Vladimir Putin, the dictator of the Kremlin, gets his way in Ukraine, on the stake is not only the future of Ukraine. He already effectively has Belarus. Then you have the Black Sea region. Three NATO nations there: Romania, Bulgaria, Turkey. You have the Baltic states that are extremely concerned about that they will be next. You have, of course, Poland and the entire Eastern European flank. You have Eurasia, which Putin considers as his sphere of influence. If he's emboldened by a potential victory in Ukraine, this would unravel the security architecture in Europe and would bring a war to the doors of even Western Europeans. This is my honest prediction.
All right. Thank you very much. Mark Voyger from the Center for European Analysis.
Thank you.